In order to be successful, you have to be able to grow all three pillars. Three pillars of success. And what is success in your life? Is it financial? Is it friendships? Is it happiness? What is it? We all have different definitions of success. And I talk about that all the time because it's true. Success for some people is money. Success for other people is happiness. Success for some people is the friendships and the relationships that people have around them. But what's great about these three pillars or these 3 points of success that we're going to talk about today is that they're universal. Use them with whatever. You fill in the blank for what it is that's happiness or success to you, and they're going to go with it. So today I want to talk about just that, which are the 3 pillars. We're going to go over each one individually. And the first one is probably the most important one, and it's discipline. Doing something that you don't necessarily want to do, but you do it anyway. That's discipline. It's the person who gets up in the morning. I can think back to, morning workouts back when I was playing football, and the alarm would go off at 4:00. I had to be there at 4:30. And these are back in the days where I could just roll out of bed and still drive and get there and then be woke up, basically by the time I get there. But I didn't want to do it. Every single morning, the alarm would go off and I just didn't want to get up. But then I'd start remembering, my whole team's going to be there. People are counting on me. I need to be there. So I was disciplined enough to get myself out of bed, get to the workout, do the workout. And I can remember every time I got done with it, I was like, man, I'm really glad I did that today. As opposed to the days where I didn't necessarily have the workout. Maybe it was a Friday or a Saturday, it was a day off. I can remember getting up and yes, I was awake, but I just didn't have that feeling after that workout like I typically did on a weekday. And it was because I was disciplined and the whole team was just disciplined and held each other accountable to know that once we got there, we were going to be in this thing together. But it was just getting out of bed. And of course, every week you'd have that one person who maybe wasn't, that would just, maybe show up late or wouldn't show up at all. And the whole team would hold that person accountable. But discipline is one of the biggest items that you have to have in order to be successful or to be happy or whatever it is that you have to be able to hold yourself accountable. Not other people holding you accountable, but you holding yourself accountable. Another example I can think of on this one was just we talked about the diabetes that I got diagnosed with type 1. It was a late onset. And it was something where it was like, look, there's really no choice on this. I have to do what I have to do in order to eat correctly and get my body where it needs to get. And it's so much different than other times where I was like, you know what, I want to start doing workouts now and get myself up to go do a workout or whatnot. This was so much different because it's like, man, I have to do this. And so it's been easier in the sense to hold myself accountable because I know I have to do it. But being able to be disciplined with those things makes it so much easier to be successful at it because you're disciplined in what you do. And I'm going to use analogies today a lot about a pickup basketball game as we move forward here. And the pickup basketball game is if you got a group of friends that are, going to play pickup basketball in the morning, you got to be disciplined to be there on time. That's the first one, is discipline. So this brings up the second point, is gratitude. Gratitude is such a key point in the 3 pillars to success because in order to be disciplined and have the people around you want to be around you is you have to have gratitude. You have to be thankful for the people around you, and you have to share that with the people. The people want to be around you. And here's what's interesting about gratitude is, yes, gratitude means that you're thankful for the people around you, but gratitude also is something that is a magnet. It magnetizes people to you because as you're being grateful and showing people how grateful you are and the way that you talk, and you don't necessarily have to say it out loud, hey, I'm grateful for you, but it's talking to people in a way that makes them want to be around you. It's talking to people in a way where as when they go home at night or when you know what, I really liked hanging out with that person. Because maybe you talked about interests that someone else has and not just your own interests. Maybe you were showing interest in maybe their family. Maybe if you're a boss or if you're a manager somewhere and you talk to employees about their families and you know people's names and you actually get engaged in those conversations, you don't even understand how meaningful that is to some people. And it doesn't even have to be a boss or a manager, even as an employee talking to somebody else about their family or their interest or, hey, how did it go last weekend when you did blah? You fill in the blank. That's gratitude. That's being grateful and showing interest and really trying to bring the best out in those around you. And again, we go back to the pickup basketball game. You have the discipline, you show up on time. Now you have great gratitude and you're there, and the people that are at that pickup basketball game like being with you. And they love being there. They love having you there. They love the workout. Maybe it's a workout too, but they love having you in that environment. Their gratefulness that you have really rubs off on everyone around you. So this brings up the third pillar, which really ties in this pickup basketball game, which is competitiveness. And I know for a lot of you hearing that one, you're going to have probably a little bit of remorse to that. Like, I don't understand how competitiveness can fall into this. And if a lot of you know me, you know that, the competitiveness that I carry with me, yes, I'm very competitive, but I really try to tie in the other 2 points with it. Because if you have someone who's just competitiveness and that's all they are, and they're not disciplined and not grateful, you have this overbearing person who just wants to compete at everything they do. They have no remorse for anybody else around them. They're not going to show up on time, which this is where we really bring in the pickup basketball game, which is the pickup basketball game. If you have that person that is just competitive and that's the only thing that they are, maybe they showed up on time, but they are just at all costs. The ball tips off. They're going full string. They're mowing people over. They're going hard to the basket. They have nothing else but competitive nature. They don't have gratitude. They don't have discipline, but they are just competitive. Nobody wants to be around that person. But if you have a competitive person with the characteristics also of discipline and gratitude, you're going to get a person that shows up to the game on time, that is grateful for the people around them, that's communicating with the people around them, that's talking to the people around them, that's showing interest in the people around them. But yet when the ball tips off, they're able to compete. They're able to compete with those around them in a way that let people still want that person there. Because here's what's happened. If you are disciplined and grateful, but you don't have competitiveness, and you're on that pickup basketball game, you're going to be the person that tips off and you have zero drive. They're going to be stealing the ball away from you. You're going to be happy just to be there. You're going to be happy-go-lucky, and you're not going to have the drive or that dog in you to be competitive. Now, let's take it back the other way, too. Let's say that you have the gratefulness and you have the competitiveness, but you don't have the discipline. You're going to be that person at the pickup basketball game who, yes, people love being around. Yes, you got the competitive nature, but you never show up on time. The game's at 5 a.m. You're showing up at 5:30. Hey, man, it's great that you showed up, but we're already done with the game. Oh, crap. You got to have discipline. Got to have discipline. So now let's take that the other way. Let's take it to the person now who's got the competitiveness. They've got the discipline, but they don't have the gratitude. When you don't have the gratitude, you're showing up on time. You're that person who's just extra hard go-getter, but nobody wants you on their team. That's what happens when you have just 2 of the 3 pillars that we're talking about today. And you can add that into any situation that you want. It doesn't have to just be the pickup basketball game. The reason why I like bringing that up is because you really have the characteristics of all 3 of those. But take that to your job. Take that to your family. Take that to an array of different things. The 3 pillars always hold true, which are that in order to be successful, you have to be able to grow all 3 pillars. So the question to you guys is this, as we kick off this new year now, and we're into the first couple weeks here, is what are you doing this year to really grow these 3 pillars? And this is what I'm going to challenge everybody with today, which is this. One of those 3 pillars you're lacking, whether it's the discipline, whether it's the gratitude, whether it's the competitiveness. You have to be able to grow one of those 3 pillars. And again, every time I even say the word competitiveness in that, it always seems like it just seems off and it doesn't go. And I know there's a lot of people who are thinking about, man, we really don't have to have that. That competitiveness, though, is a little bit of that dog in you. Everyone has to have it. You got to have the willingness and you got to have the mindset that you want to be better at something. So even if that competitiveness is just being better at discipline, you know what? I'm going to compete against myself because I want to be more disciplined. Or, hey, I need to be more grateful for those around me. So you start challenging yourself to do those things. That can be that competitiveness in you. And I talk about this a lot. This is going to be going off on a little bit of rant on the competitiveness, but growing up with my little ones, they always talk about, hey, you're so competitive at everything you do, or the people around me, they talk about, the competitiveness all the time and just that willingness to want to win. Here's what real competitors, I feel, start to do. Real competitors, or if you're that person who you're saying, man, I'm such a competitive person, or people are saying, hey, this person really is competitive. Here's when you know that you're a true competitor. You know you're a true competitor when the biggest competition you have is with yourself. You get to the point, you're doing the family yard games and you're having fun with it and, you're competing against people. But when you really want to be competitive and you really want to grow that aspect of your life, you start being competitive when nobody's watching you. What are you doing to compete with yourself? And I talk about this. I mean, this is something that I've been thinking of I've been thinking about this a lot lately. And I was just talking to an 18-year-old about it. And it was just like, yes, you may be competitive, but if you really want to be competitive, you start competing with yourself. I'm going to get up in the morning. I'm getting up in the morning. I'm getting to my job. I'm doing it better than anybody else who does this same job anywhere. Okay, I'm going to get to this time. I'm going to get to myself on this workout. I'm going to start Monday, and you start. And then you start saying, okay, here's what I'm going to do I'm going to get to this point by the time February hits. So the next 2 months, I'm going to start doing X, Y, and Z to get myself to this baseline and this point. This is where I want to be. And you start doing it, and you start competing against yourself, and you start pushing yourself. That really brings in that discipline aspect. And that's how you can really start to grow that disciplinary side of you, is that you start getting the competitiveness up, but you're competing with yourself on a daily basis. That's what that competitiveness of this 3-pillar really means, is that you're starting to drive and push yourself to be better. Because if we're going to do anything better, we have to be able to push ourselves. And we have to be competitive with it. Yes, it's easy to be disciplined and get up on time and to get to the gym, but then what are you doing to grow? What are you doing to make yourself better? You have to compete with yourself. Maybe you have to have competitions or be competing with the people around you. But in order to be better, you have to have a little bit of that competitive spirit, a little bit of that dog inside you that says, okay, I need to be better. So the challenge for everybody at the start of this new year is this. What are the 3 pillars, and which one of them can I be better at? Because everybody is struggling with one of those 3s. And if you have one pillar that's just getting a little bit behind and the other 2 are starting to grow, that plane or that foundation, that structure that you're working off of starts to crumble or get a little bit uneven. We have to be able to grow every one of them. Think to a basketball game, think to a soccer game, think to basically any sport where you have multiple people. You always have to have what they call this triangle. I know we talk about it in soccer all the time. You have a triangle. If you have the person with the ball dribbling down the field, you always have to have a triangle. You have to have two options. I can pass this way, I can pass this way. If this person's covered, maybe this person isn't. And if these 2 people are covered, maybe no one's on me, maybe I'm able to go. Same thing with basketball. I talk about this a lot on defense, is that when you're on defense, you got to have the person guarding the guy up top. Then you have the defensive players down low who are going each direction. You're cutting off all areas. Same thing on offense, having the triangle. You see these a lot in sports. It's always having that triangle, those 3 points, or that plane that has to be even. And what happens if that triangle starts to collapse and you have one person come in and you're starting to form more of a line? Now it's easy for defenses or offense to collapse because of that. You got to have a triangulation. You got to have the biggest plane that you can in order to be successful. So what area and what corner at the start of this new year do you need to improve on? For me, I know it's discipline. I have been disciplined my whole life, and I know right now, just getting in kind of this new year towards the end of the year, there's been a lot of different directions I've gone, and I've let myself slip a little bit on how early I've got up in the morning. I let myself slip a little bit on the workouts I've been doing. So for me, that's what I'm starting on. Discipline. How can I get up early? How can I get to the gym? How can I get the workout in that I need to get in? And I'll keep you guys updated on how that's going. But that's the area that I'm really working on. Gratitude is something I feel like I've done a little bit better on this year. It's being grateful for the people around me and letting them know that. Competitiveness is always going to be there. But what area can you work on this year, the start of this new year? What area can you work on? And do it. Don't just talk about it. Really take this as a time to take that under the belt and make it happen. 2026 is the year for all of us. I get chills just saying that, just thinking about that. 2026 is the year. Grow those 3 pillars. Start with those 3 pillars. And I promise you, if you start on growing those and you're able to take just a little bit and grow each day just a little bit more with those 3 pillars, you will be much more successful in whatever it is that you're doing, financial, friendships, growth of your family, whatever it is. Take those 3, apply it to your life, and I promise you will have a more successful and a better 2026. I hope you're able to take something from the day and apply it to your everyday life. If so, please hit the like, hit the subscribe button. Until next time, stay sharp, stay resilient.